Starting Joule software, educational video. First, open up Joule. Starting with this version, there are two reports available: the clinical report and the EEG report. So when Joule first opens, it takes a moment. It asks you if you agree that you'll take full responsibility for the use of Joule. Next, it reminds you that when you do data acquisition, you have to use acquisition with filters. Third, you enter in your clinic name or your own name to be placed on reports, and then you start Joule. Let's start Joule by doing a psych evaluation with our client. We'll click on Psych Test, and now we'll put in our client's name, KH. So for KH, we could take her history, her family. We could have questions about safety or questions about acquired brain injury. So the questions on history simply describe what is her past, is there bipolar disorder in her family, are they in crisis at the moment, are there hormonal issues? In the family, we want to know if the family is functional or dysfunctional. For safety, is the client a cutter? Do they have suicidal thoughts, self-harm? Are they being stalked? And acquired brain injury. Out of the 10 questions, there are 4 questions to determine whether or not they are at risk for acquired brain injury. Now, this particular client has an anxiety disorder, especially post-traumatic stress disorder. And now you can see anxiety PTSD is one of the symptoms that is listed in addition to the 4 basic yes/no question categories. So let's say the client answers these questions. Do they feel more anxious or irritable since a life event has come about? So I'm marking these questions. I'm grading them 1 to 4. 1 is never, 2 is some of the time, 3 is most of the time, 4 is nearly all of the time. Notice as I mark them, there's a score on the bottom of the page. Joule keeps track of that. And now we cannot print this form because all questions have not been answered. So for the sake of brevity, I'm going to limit the number of yes/no questions just to safety and post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm going to arbitrarily click answers. And now that I've clicked the last answer, Save Form lights up. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to save this form. It opens up Avatar Studies, and I will open up QEEG, and now I'm going to add the assessment to her form. And there is the assessment report that we just made. And you can see there's the report with my clinic name, the client's name, and the evaluation report, as well as the score of 23. Now, let's say that our client is now in neurofeedback training, and we want to keep track of their symptoms each week. So the client comes in, you ask them, how was your last week? And then we put down anxiety, PTSD, and your client fills out the report based on last week's progress. And now we can save this form and put it into the client's folder. And I'm going to put down assessment number 1. I'm going to write that in. And now it's in her folder, and I'll open it up. And you can see there's today's date, the client's name, and how they did during the past week. So now we've tracked her symptoms, and we have a total score as well. But there's more. Let's say now we want to do another report. So let's load report. And now we'll go into that client's folder and we'll load in their XML file. Eyes closed, adult. And again, we'll put in their name and we'll click Surface Report. And now we have a report of this client. And it says dampen SEMG because in our charts you can see that as the frequency increases, there's one electrode that dramatically increases, reflecting EMG. I'm going to dampen that, not fix it. And now it's going to correct that electrode so it no longer is a factor in our report. Of course, this client has PTSD, so I'm going to click Anxiety PTSD. And of course, if I want to isolate the hottest sites, I can use the slider on the right. That's the highest 6 sites, the highest 4 sites, the hottest 2 sites. And of course, QEEG Pro also has the same symptom checked, and I can click, not with a slider, but it says there are 16 sites selected, and I also can bring that down to the hottest 2 sites according to QEEG Pro. But what about the report? That's what our interest is in this video, reports. So let's go to Joule and let's go to Joule Report. And there is our client's report. There's her name, KH, eyes closed, the date of the report, the symptom. We could have chosen more than one symptom. We didn't have to choose just one. We could choose several. Here's a description of QEEG. There were no co-modulation issues. Here's her dominant rhythm, which is 11 hertz, which could reflect insomnia or rumination. Here is her chart that goes from 0 to 30 hertz, and you can see where it peaks around 18 to 22 hertz. And now we see the ratios. And of course, there's the alpha beta and theta beta ratios are blue, which again indicates anxiety, insomnia. And here's the basic training heads. And here's a description of PTSD and homework for the client. So now we're going to save this report, and it goes right into the client folder. And so the report that we just made is right here. Let's go to the report we did today. Okay, here is the report for today. And it has her symptom, everything we spoke about before. But in addition to that, we see included are the Joule coherence bands, and the symptom is delineated. And here is QEEG for S. Loretta. And here's the QEEG Pro database review. So that completes all of our reports for this client. And they're all available in her BrainMaster Studies folder under her name. Thank you for allowing me to share how you can create Joule reports.